Welcome.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming out today. My name is Andrew Robinson. I'm the program manager here at the Center for Nonprofit Excellence. We're really excited to be hosting this event today to launch this important collaborative project, ReimagineCVA. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you can learn more about the initiative and help us celebrate the efforts of those who have been involved so far. I'm going to pop in towards the end and pass around an evaluation form so that we can get some feedback on how to do these sorts of things better. But otherwise, I'm going to hand things over to CNE's Senior Membership Manager, Raquel Suarez, who has led CNE's contributions on this project so far.
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us on this icy and cold day. Hope you're all finding some small ways to stay warm. I know I've heated up my coffee mug about 2-3 times. It's already gotten cold, but that's fine. Yeah, so thank you for joining to learn a little bit more about ReimagineCVA. It's been a collaborative effort with United Way, Thriving Communities Group, and the Equity Center at UVA, along with some colleagues of ours at Inspiring Service. It is meant to be a community tool where community members can learn about nonprofits and community organizations doing important work in Charlottesville and the counties of Albemarle, Buckingham, Fluvanna, Greene, Louisa, Madison, and Orange. But before we go into deep details about the tool and how we can use it and how you all can use it, I just want to kind of do quick introductions. And I do see that we have about 80 people already joining us. So if you want to go ahead as I introduce my colleagues here, if you want to also just sort of put in the chat your name, what organization you're representing. And if you see anyone in there that just go ahead and give a quick shout out. I mean, I know this is a webinar style, but I still want this to feel a little bit like a community. So go ahead and just let us know who you are, which one's your organization. But yes, as Andrew said, I'm Raquel Suarez at CNE. I've been working very closely with Caroline at United Way and with Tim and Carol at Inspiring Service. I will go ahead and let Caroline introduce herself.
Hey guys, I'm Caroline Emerson with the United Way of Greater Charlottesville. And Andrew, when we got on earlier, said, you're talking too loudly, and I'm doing it again. So I will try to dial that back, Andrew. But I'm so grateful that everybody's here today. This is a really, really cool tool that we put together. We are still in the process of working out ways to maximize the use of this tool. So we're really looking forward to hearing back from all of you how we can make this the best possible ReimagineCVA site.
Thanks, Caroline. And Tim and Carol, if you just want to give a quick intro.
Yeah, I'm Tim Thomas. I'm with the Inspiring Service, and I'm responsible for the national community development of these platforms across America. We're in 17 now. We're glad to be in Charlottesville. As the chats are coming up, I'm very familiar with a lot of these nonprofits that's come up because I'm one of the key publishers of the listings. And thank you for your participation today.
Thank you, Tim.
I'm Carol Roundtree, Chief Volunteer Officer at Inspiring Service, and I help get the data entered by utilizing volunteer and intern support. So you all have profiles that are pre-created for you. And then as you'll learn today, you'll have the opportunity to edit what we've done for you and also learn how to add it if you're not already on there.
Thank you all. Yeah, so we're really excited to preview this with you all. I think the easiest way to do this is actually look into the site as we talk about this. ReimagineCVA came to be as a community effort. And Caroline, you can add to this too, but here at CNE and at United Way, we kept hearing from individuals about how they wanted to help support nonprofits, whether it's through volunteering their time or their skills or donating items. And they were just looking for a go-to place of like where they can find information on nonprofits who need support. And then we were also hearing from certain donors too about nonprofits that they want to donate to and who are the ones that are in need of support at the moment. So we came across Inspiring Service, who has developed this directory of nonprofits doing important work. As they mentioned, they've been doing this in 16 communities already, and we wanted to bring it to Charlottesville as well. So if we want to pull up the site, we can show you how this becomes a comprehensive directory, and it's only going to become comprehensive with everyone's support here. We're hoping this is a community-driven, community-sourced platform. And right now, I think we currently have like over 180 nonprofits in there. We know there's a lot more to add. As Carol at Inspiring Service mentioned, this has been put in by a lot of their interns, their volunteer interns, using the information available through websites and adding them to the site through collection of data information that's just available generally. And now it's up to us now to use the framework that's out here to just make this better and make it work for our community. And the way that it will be used is, let's say I'm an individual in Charlottesville and I have some time that I want to donate to a nonprofit. I am really interested in helping children and helping youth. And the really cool thing about this website is that as a directory, it also lets you search by causes. So you can actually go and dig into those causes and those passions that are closest to you. And as a nonprofit, we'll show you later on how you can tag yourself as related to one of these causes as part of your mission. There are ways that individuals can search how they can help a nonprofit, whether it's specific volunteer opportunities or for organizations that are doing collections like food drives or clothing drives. There's items needed too. And one of the features that we're really, really excited about is the ability to highlight nonprofits that are BIPOC led or BIPOC founded. Right now, we have a few listed here. We know that there's a lot more, but we just wanted to showcase this banner, and we'll also show you later on how if you are a nonprofit or community organization that is BIPOC founded or BIPOC led, we'll show you how you can tag yourself as that so that you are highlighted here in this section. And the reason why we did this is because we have heard from community members about what are the nonprofits that are Black led or Black founded or just BIPOC founded and BIPOC led that they can give support to. So we wanted to have a one-stop shop where all of these questions about how community members can help support their nonprofits, and ReimagineCVA is that place where all of that came together really nicely. We're still working on adding more organizations here, which is why we're doing this community preview. And I think one of the things that we can go ahead and start looking into is, thank you, Caroline, for the BIPOC explanation piece, is sort of dig into some of these profiles so you can see how they look like. We can take a look at 100 Black men of Central Virginia. So you'll see every organization that right now has a profile. You'll see the name of their organization. You'll see links that can bring you to different places. If you're interested in learning more about this nonprofit, clicking the I'm interested button will bring you to a form where you can go ahead and list your interest, or if you want somebody to contact you. It also links directly to the nonprofit's website. There's a donate button. If there's a specific volunteer opportunity, it would also be highlighted there. The mission is there. And if we scroll down, you can also leave testimonials. So if I'm a community member who's worked with 100 Black men of Charlottesville, I would list how amazing the organization is and how they're really helping the youth in Charlottesville's Black community. Then that's how it would show to those, like to the general public. As a nonprofit organization, if your profile is already on this site, I will send you later on after this a way to get registered as a representative of your organization in order to make updates. As you can see, the volunteers working with Inspiring Service did amazing work in pulling as much information as they can from each organization's website and putting it in one area. If you want to go ahead and make edits or make changes so that it reflects some of the information that you want to make sure is being put out there, the way we can do that is logging in once you have that account created. So I have my colleague, Andrew. This is his first time logging in on behalf of CNE. So I wanted a first-time user to go through the process so you can kind of see how easy it is to make these updates. He's going to have to use someone else's user ID, but that's okay. You'll see how easy it is to make updates here, to be able to reflect what is your current need right now, or reflect just how you want your mission portrayed in here too. So when you scroll down, here's what you'll see as your screen right now. You can add a story, you can add ways to help now, you can add items needed. We could go ahead and click on the Center for Nonprofit Excellence, because that's us. So we'll use us as an example here. So once you have your registered account made, you can log in, click on that edit button. And all of this will kind of populate on its own on this piece. That is all correct. That's our organization name. That's our address. We'll hit next on it. And then he's adding himself too, because we had Ian originally, and now we'll have Andrew added to this account. And our website is still correct. And let's say for now, the organization email, when our Inspiring Service volunteers added information, they saw that the staff at the CNE was our main email address. Let's say we want to change that because it's actually me that the email should go to. So let's do rsuarez@thecne.org, because that's actually the place where we want general public information, or if we want volunteers reaching out, this is the contact person we want. So we'll hit next on that. And what happens at this point is that our colleagues at Inspiring Service, Tim and Carol, are going to receive a notification that these changes have been made, and that these changes have been, I'm sorry, the door, someone's knocking. They'll receive the notification and they the ones will go ahead and approve it. Sadie, please. So you go ahead and hit next. I think our mission statement and our about us is accurate now, so we'll let that be. And if we had a new volunteer opportunity, we can go ahead and also add a way to help, or we can skip it if we don't have a new volunteer opportunity. At this moment, we don't. And then here's the space too, where you can go ahead and list the causes that you are involved in. One of the causes that we kept open is the social justice and equality. We recognize that nonprofits are in different mission areas, and some also overlap with initiatives that fall within the social justice and equality category. So we encourage you as a nonprofit organization, if your mission is focused within that space too, to make sure you highlight yourself as working in social justice and equality as well, so that when other community members are looking to support organizations that are in that cause, that you populate in that as well. And then here's just a place where you can go ahead and change your images too if you needed to. Thank you, Andrew, for updating that contact information to make it accurate. I appreciate that. And you can go ahead and hit that submit button. That was pretty easy. I liked it. And we'll have space at the end for some questions too. Let's go back to the ReimagineCVA site, just the regular landing page there. If we can. And also, as I mentioned earlier about that BIPOC led and BIPOC founded category, if you're an organization that also falls within that category, when you're in your edit page button, right under your main picture, you're going to see those two buttons. And if we go, Andrew, to our CNE site, yeah, you can click on CNE there. Does that work? There we go. Right at the top picture, that's where you'll see under BIPOC organizations, if you are BIPOC founded or if you are BIPOC led, click both or either one and hit that save and update button so that your organization can be highlighted under that banner as well. All right. And the other piece that we also really want to highlight about this, this tool is the ability to write some stories about your organization. And the way stories is categorized here is to talk about the impact that your organization is having, or to provide an announcement on perhaps like an upcoming event that the organization is putting on. Or maybe it's just passing on really important information. As the vaccinations roll out, is your site one of the places where vaccines appointments are being held? So this is a space where any announcement related to your nonprofit organization can be used. To showcase some examples from that, I'm going to have Caroline go ahead and show one of those stories that they put together for United Way, and then I'll also show you other examples of how it's used as like a communication tool for any nonprofit organization. But yeah, Caroline, I'll let you take it from here.
1 second.
No worries.
All right, so this is our page, and I am logged in on this page, not as a user, but as a public person. So this is how any user might see it. So you'll see here is our impact story where it shows up on our page. And if you click on that, this is a story of a client that we worked with, Shanika, and there's a lot of information there about how she was engaged with our organization. But the reason that we have her here is to call attention to the good work that we're doing. And so an impact story demonstrates how people in the community, when they get involved with your organization, the good things that they're going to accomplish. So this is just an example of one person who's been assisted, and it's actually a partnership with a number of organizations in the community. So it's a great story, but that's just another way to use an impact story as an ongoing way. And that's it.
Thank you. There are a couple of stories too that are sort of just announcement or information sharing. If we go back to the ReimagineCVA site, I think one of the ones I wanted to pull up was Sin Barreras profile and how they have a sort of like an announcement written there. Have you, yeah. And the way, this is actually good that we're looking here at this banner, you're going to notice that on this banner, it's always going to look different. It's just constantly sliding. It's not always going to have the same first 2-3 organizations listed. That's also another way of being able to highlight different organizations, is that the way they show in that banner is always going to be different every time you log back into the site. So if you scroll down to their impact story there, just a quick introduction about one of their health initiatives with UVA. And then we also want to highlight it here at the bottom too, how we add the social media connections to each of the nonprofit organizations too, because what we're really trying to do is just highlight every nonprofit and just find different ways to connect. We will have a Q&A session coming up soon, and I see that there are a couple of questions coming in already. And before we head there, I think there's two quick pieces of information I want to pass on. One is, if you want to see if your organization is already have like a pre-made profile there, you can do that using that search feature up there. And if you are listed, if you see that your nonprofit is listed there, the way to, and you have not signed up as a representative yet, a really quick way of doing that, Andrew, if you hit the next button, a really quick way of doing that is, oh, you would need to log out first. Thank you. When you hit the login button now, go to nonprofit login. And if you need an account, if your nonprofit already has a profile on there, then that means you will click on that register with your nonprofit. And when you click on it, it's going to have kind of like a pull down menu bar for you to write the name of your organization. And then you just kind of go through the process of creating the account. If you don't see that your organization is listed there, if you go to the bottom where it says click here to provide information to have your organization added, because as we said, we're still working on adding this. We're trying to add all the nonprofits in Charlottesville and the surrounding counties. And we're just getting, we're still building this. The way you can get yours added is filling out this form, fill it out with as much information as possible. And then our colleagues at Inspiring Service are going to receive this form, and they're going to go ahead and get you set up too. So I figured that may have been like one of the first two questions that came up. So I wanted to just let you know how quickly and how easily you can go ahead and get this process started, so that you can start connecting with community members who are wanting to help through volunteering or donating. I can go ahead and think we can start opening this up for questions. But before I do, I wanted to check in with Caroline and with our Inspiring Service team to see if there's anything that you want to add, anything I may have forgotten. I know I did a lot
I
of
think
talking.
there I go again. I think our main objective here is to just help nonprofits maximize traffic to your websites and engagement with your organization. So you can get as much out of this as you're able to put into it, really. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of what's required and what's not required, what's an add-on, what's not, so that you can drive traffic to your website, you can drive traffic to your volunteer pages, you can drive traffic all over the place, you can increase donations to your organization. And there's a number of different ways to be strategic about that as you go and fill out your form and get your organization page the way you want it to be. And really, it's so flexible, so easy to update, so easy to change, with images, and it's very customizable, on your page, whether the buttons that are available that are visible to the user depend on what you've put in there. So if you don't have a volunteer page that you have a lot of opportunities that you want to drive people to, that button won't be there. So it won't be an empty space, or it won't be a dead link. It's just not going to be visible. It'll just, so it's really, really optimizable for everybody. And I think it's super cool. It's super cool.
Yeah, I really like that I have now a landing place to bring people to whenever I get the question of like, hey, I'm looking to volunteer. Where are the volunteer opportunities? There's this one-stop shop place where all of that is listed. And as well as when people come and ask, what are the nonprofits in there? What are they doing? It's a way for individuals to kind of see what that nonprofit landscape looks like in our area, learn what are the different organizations doing important community building work in the different mission areas out there. It gets
Absolutely.
I think it's pretty cool.
And looking at who's on the call today, I see a lot of folks that are also have pages on the CVA Volunteer page. That's the site that we do the Day of Caring on, for example. These two sites are going to work together, and I think that's what's really, really important. You know, we want to drive more traffic to your CVA Volunteer page, and we want the CVA Volunteer page to drive more traffic to the Reimagine page. So as much as you can complete both of those pages, and we're going to be here to help you do that, it's going to really, really increase traffic all across the board.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go ahead and open this up now to a couple of questions. Ian and Andrew, if you can help me kind of go through some of them in here.
I've answered a couple that were
Oh, I see. Yeah.
it's kind of website specific.
I'm a terrible typist, but I've answered some as well.
Yeah, it's looking like it. All right, so here's one question that I would like to answer live. Does an organization need to have a dedicated website in order to have a page on ReimagineCVA? That's a really good question, and I think this is actually part of the reason why we're building this site with Inspiring Service, is because we want this to be as comprehensive as possible of all the community organizations that's doing really important work. And we recognize that not every organization is going to have an established website the way CNE United Way has our established website. So one of the things we're working with Inspiring Service is that connecting it to perhaps your Facebook page. And this is another area too, where there's going to be some synergy between the volunteers and the ReimagineCVA site, because let's say you're a nonprofit organization who's using a profile on the CVA Volunteers page, CVAvolunteer.org, and that's basically your website right now. We're going to go ahead and link that website to your CVA Volunteer profile so that you're still in that directory of ReimagineCVA. You still look the same like every organization there, because you're being displayed on that site, even though you may not have a website the way that CNE and United Way has. So I think that's one of the cool features about ReimagineCVA, is just kind of evens the playing field, because every organization profile there, it looks the same. So thank you for that question. And I don't know if there's a question here about how is this website different or an improvement to CVAvolunteer.org, and will CVA Volunteer website still be up, or will this replace it? So I think we sort of answered that question a little bit, but Caroline, if I missed anything in my last comments, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, it is a little bit different, but I really feel like they're very, very, they serve one another. They're married, as it were. They really, really will support one another. CVA Volunteer is a great place to list all of your volunteer opportunities, whether or not they're ongoing, they're event-based, Day of Caring, all those things you want to have on CVA Volunteer. When we get calls at the United Way, our volunteer center, from companies or from individuals that want to volunteer, that's where we go looking for volunteer opportunities, because obviously we maintain that site and we're very, very familiar with it. However, the Reimagine site is a great place, and as Raquel said, it's a level playing field, so everybody kind of looks the same. You can go in and kind of just look around and explore things, but when you come to an agency site, you can list under ways to help particular volunteer opportunities that you want to highlight. If you are a smaller organization and maybe only have one or two opportunities anyway, you'll probably want to have them on both sites. If you have a lot of ongoing opportunities or special opportunities, maybe you want to pull up one that is timely fashion or something that you really want to highlight on the Reimagine site. But they're very, very complementary. Something that we're going to be building out is the opportunity for users on the Reimagine site to register their desire to share special skills or interests. So what that will do will link to the CVA Volunteer site on the CVA volunteer site, as a registered user, you can, and I've got a profile set up myself. You set up a profile that indicates special interests, skills, time of day that you want to volunteer. If you're looking for family volunteer opportunities, there's a way to really build out your profile as a volunteer. And and you can also have the system notify you when a need comes available, so that it'll match you up right there. So we really want to connect those two sites to maximize the engagement with your organization. So they're definitely parallel sites that intersect in a really, really good way. They're parallel, yeah, they do intersect. So yeah, I think they're really complementary sites.
Let me answer a couple of technical questions I'm seeing here. I'm looking at the Q&A. Is that the ones that we're supposed to be looking at right now?
Yeah, that's
Q&A.
it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so Yuki has a question about in the social profile section allows Twitter to display as a feed. Are there plans to expand this Facebook and Instagram as well? Well, the reality is we had Facebook to begin with, and Facebook changed their terms and conditions and privacy rights and sharing data rights and all that kind of stuff. And because Twitter didn't do that, we decided to switch to Twitter, unfortunately. I mean, because a lot of companies or nonprofits really use Facebook a lot, we've noticed. Twitter, and the other thing that we've noticed is you're all different sizes. And what we're trying to do is make everyone agnostic in the sense that you all have 400 employees working for you, and we're going to help backstop you. So anytime that we can add fidelity to your site, just reach out to us. Carol has a crack team of, interns and students from UVA that are helping us. And, we're here for you. The other question was, can we fill out our profile if we're in the process of incorporating but don't yet have an EIN? About the minimum amount of information we'd like to have is an EIN, but we know that some are in various stages of obtaining an EIN. So we can put in a fake EIN until you get a real EIN, and then we can switch it out, swap it out. We've had some people that are in the process, they've actually sent us their form, and we use that EIN. That's the only thing we use as a record holder in our database. And then we can modify it after it's changed. If you say in that profile, hey, we're waiting for our official thing, then we're flagged and we know, we'll add that as a temporary and we'll go back and edit it later. But it will give us a placeholder in the actual listing. Let's see if there was any.
Can I interject here? That actually reminded me of an important point too. So the organizations that we're listing here are not only established 501c3s or 501cs. Like, we want to highlight any organization doing any type of community building work, and that includes grassroots organizations that may not yet have that 501c status yet. So again, this is part of having that even playing field and making sure that those organizations are profiled here with a fake EIN at the meantime. But that way that your organization is still highlighted, it's still being supported, and it's still being listed as one of the ways that community members can help. And that also goes for like fiscally sponsored organizations as well.
Well, the question just came in about fiscal sponsorship. We can make a chapter inside of a fiscally sponsored organization, which is, again, another fake EIN, if you will. But we'll provide that. You don't even need to know about it, actually, when we provide that, because it's going to be part of your profile. So no worries there. And I guess Lisa Drain asked about, does your organization need to be an official 501c3? Is that the gestation of the question? Of you're in process or whatever? I hope that we've answered that. There's a ability to see any data numbers about profile views and click-throughs. We have it at the site level that we provide to Raquel and Caroline. And I'm not sure how granular we can get it as far as your nonprofit specifically, but we are working on that with Google AdWords and whatnot.
Thank you.
See. Was there any other techie questions?
There's also a few questions in the chat.
Yes, there's a.
So Reimagine available in Northern Virginia. We are available in what, 7 counties in Charlottesville, Raquel?
Correct.
that what it is? 6 or 7 counties and Charlottesville itself.
Correct. So we're not in Northern Virginia, but depending what area of Northern Virginia you are, we can connect you with either a CNE-like organization or some volunteer hub in that space. But right now, we're looking at the city of Charlottesville, we're looking at the counties of Albemarle, Buckingham, Fluvanna, Greene, Louisa, Madison, and Orange. So 6 other counties.
If they have an address in those counties, it will show up on the site. So what we've seen is there's a national organization in St. Louis that actually has a presence in Charlottesville. We use a local address to get it listed into the site. The unfortunate downside of a national organization sometimes is that the local information is not there. So like a website or volunteer opportunities and things like that, it focuses on the national site. But anything that we can do to help accommodate that is just let us know.
Yeah, and Nelson County too. I don't know if I mentioned Nelson, so sorry, Nelson County as well.
So there's several questions in the Q&A if you want to check through them.
Oh yeah, I see this. Okay. So we have there's a question about if an organization already has a comprehensive and updated list of volunteer opportunities for their organization, is there any volunteer interns still available to aid additional information to our profile on, I'm sorry.
Always. Yes, always. In fact, we encourage nonprofit engagement because it makes the listing all the better. We're going on what we see. You know your organization better than us. And Carol's team is incredible at getting that information in as soon as possible. So literally, you could send an email if you wanted to. I mean, you could fill out a form or whatever, but I mean, that helps us get organized. But we work from a lot of different data sources to get our information, and we try to really line up. We're not fabricating information about a mission statement or about us. We're actually copy pasting it from your website.
There's 2 good questions here. I think maybe Tim is best to talk to the first one. Could you talk a little bit about the impact this service has had on the other communities and nonprofits that you've worked with other places?
Well, yeah, in one particular instance in Cleveland, literally every nonprofit, in order to be listed on their site, you have to have a administrator or nonprofit representative. And what that does is they're actually taking ownership of the nonprofit. And that's where we see the fidelity of the listings are so much higher. We've been in Boston for what, 2 years, Carol? We've been in the Boston area, and now we have full Massachusetts, and they're seeing it spread across, like a wave in Massachusetts. We have 2 sites down in Florida that are, the people can't believe that this resource has come to their site, and they're getting more engagement. Believe it or not, some of the sites didn't want to have the donate button on at first. And we convinced them that during COVID, there's no better time than add donate, independent of your own, whatever your own belief system. And actually, because nonprofit donations have plummeted in the last year, it's actually helped get visibility to those nonprofits that were suffering before. So yes, we have seen that.
Thanks a lot. And Raquel, there was a couple of questions about, maybe I'm cutting Carol off if she wanted to say something.
Oh, I was just going to interject a true story of a woman who was in charge of her daughter's softball team trying to get a volunteer opportunity and was struggling, and then found one of our websites and found an amazing opportunity to engage the softball team. I mean, this was a woman that was actively trying to find something, and normal Google searches weren't working for her. But utilizing the website to help narrow down by group size and so forth, and whether or not teenagers could do it, helped her find an amazing opportunity. And she loved it so much, she made a promo video for us about her experience. So
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. The other question I saw was about how we're planning on rolling this out and getting the word out beyond this session today.
That's a good question. We're working with our local media to do a more public launch for the larger community. We're also doing targeted outreach to our rural counties too. reaching to like the chambers of commerce out there, and also any interagency councils at the county levels as well. So and we also have a media, we're working with a digital media consultant as well to help us roll out this plan. And then the Google ads too will help direct traffic to the site. So we have some things in play to try to make this a well-researched, well-trafficked website. I hope that answers.
I actually was contacted by a media rep today about ReimagineCVA. So they're already hearing about it. So
hearing about it, yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that question. Is there another?
Somebody mentioned about the Civil Volunteer site, that it'll come up as not secure. That's because it's such an interactive site that there's no financial transactions there, so it's not an issue to use the site.
Well, that's a good question. That's a good point, Caroline. We do not process any donations. It's literally a punch out to your website.
Mhm.
A lot of times we see PayPal, and depending on how you implemented PayPal, we will use that donate URL or not. If you use a token to hand off, it'll expire after a certain amount of time. So just keep track of that when you're doing your implementations with PayPal. They recently added a way that you can actually do it with PayPal or credit card, and that seems to be stickier, we found. So we try to strive to use that URL. If not, we take you to the top. We try to get them to the top page, and then they can see the donate button, and then they can click on the donate. All right, so we're trying to make that user experience all the stickier.
That's the larger thing about using the site. When you correct your form, update your form, those buttons take the users to wherever you want them to go as the administrator of your site. It's up to you if you want the donate button to go to your particular donate page, if you want your volunteer button to go to the Civil Volunteer site or to your own volunteer page, wherever you think is best for users to be taken, that's where it's going to go, because you're going to fill out that link and put that onto your form.
And
there's a question here. There's a question here about schools, churches, and local governments.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that. Generally, do not have an EIN, but we have the ability to put in government or schools or whatever. We generally, I mean, it's a general statement. It doesn't hold 100% true, but we found that schools generally have like parents and grandparents and things like that helping out and volunteering and whatnot. But that's the whole thing is about community engagement. So if you have a school, church, or local government opportunity, we'll try to get it listed as best we can. We may have to work with you directly a little bit, but generally we can enter it because it doesn't have an EIN. Again, we fabricate an EIN.
And we do recognize that a lot of community building work do happen at a church level, and sometimes a lot of those grassroots organizations stem from churches. So we want to be able to highlight those organizations too. So if your church is involved in like food drives or clothing drives or any type of community building work, and you have a site there and you're looking for volunteers or donations in that space, we do want to add that to the site as well. And there are a couple of questions still pending. Thank you, Christina, for helping out with that. Is Reimagine mobile enabled? Like using it on any, like even on your cell phone?
Is it optimized? Yeah.
Yes, it is. I mean, you go to a website on it. It's not an app, but there's a website for it. Yeah, you can use it. It's optimized.
Is there an option to donate materials via the site? So if you go to the items needed, that is the space where you can see what are the organizations that need items and what are those items. And if it matches with what you have available, you can contact that organization through that I'm interested form, and it'll link to their email address that's there. Are we going to be tracking and sharing analytics? So there is Inspiring Service has a team that looks at Google Analytics to see how often the site is visited and where are the clicks. And I will get a report on that, and I'll be happy to like send an update every quarter or something on it, if that's helpful to the community.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we do get those analytics on how often the site is frequented, and what are those most frequented clicks. We'll pass that on. Are there other questions that we may have missed in the? I'm trying to scroll in the
Did you
chat
speak
box.
to the question about operating in multiple counties?
Yes, so if your work, so yes, you can operate in multiple counties, and if your service area reaches one of the counties or the city within the footprint, we want to highlight it there as well. And if we operate in 4 counties,
I mean, if you have a chapter in a different county, we can make it a chapter of the master if you want. But generally speaking, what we see is you work in a different county, but you don't really have a location, or you don't have site specific stuff for that region. And we only list one address, so we would have to make a chapter. And all the information would ultimately point back to that master in a different county possibly, but just that address would be visible on the site then.
one more. No, go ahead.
The question here is about whether volunteers can get a sense of how close they are to the volunteer opportunities through the site. Is that
Yeah.
an aspect?
Yeah, if you go up to places to help, there's a range you can put in distance wise. You can put in the city, you can put in a distance from that city or where you're standing, whatever. Yes, that is a capability. It makes sense. I mean, the problem is that, if it's 25 miles away, you really don't want to go volunteer, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, you can.
All right, who's this cute kid that's getting shared on the screen?
I think that's Andrew's daughter, June.
Andrew.
Cutie.
You just got done volunteering.
You might want to stop
Oh,
sharing.
sorry.
Andrew.
I was
We're
trying
not
to
sorry.
share.
He was showing off. That's what he was
That was
doing.
fine.
Okay.
Thing.
So I
Can
think
you hide, your question is, can you hide your street address? We can leave a city. If it's a PO box, the PO box is not listed. So if you fake it like there's no street and you just put XYZ zip code, it will show up, but they won't know.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be important for certain shelters for sure.
exactly.
Yeah. City's fine.
And yes, you can have multiple causes added to your profile.
Causes, yes, you can list as many as 13. I doubt you're going to.
Mhm.
But the UN global goal is 1.
And I think that was one of the questions about what those colored boxes were.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. Those are,
That's a UN goal in your profile. That is a UN goal.
and there's about 17 of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Carol, remind me, Carol, what the bucket is for generic. Is it 17? Is it
Yes,
which one is it?
partnership for the goals, 17.
Yeah.
17.
Yep.
And then there was a question about how to edit your causes. So when you'll create an account and you'll click edit and you'll fill out the form and make the edits, and then we will update it for you.
And I am here, and Caroline is here, and Inspiring Service folks are also here to help you with any questions you may have as you delve deep into your profiles. I'll pop on the screen my email address, as well as Caroline's email address. And so if you're a nonprofit organization just looking to add information, or you just have questions about the site, or you just want to chat with me, feel free to do so. I'm at rsuarez@thecne.org, and I'm happy to help walk you through this. What I'm going to do as well is send everyone who attended this session the link to this recording, as well as this 10-page user guide. It sounds like a long page, but it's screenshots to help you walk through some of those edits and changes that you may want to make to your profile, or just how to get added there. As a follow-up, I'll send the recording and that user guide together to help you get started on this. And then you'll have my email address there too, in case you need to reach out to me for any questions. And feel free to reach out to Caroline as well. And you can reach the Inspiring Service folks and me directly too by using the Contact Us button on ReimagineCVA that brings a form, and that form gets sent to me and to Inspiring Service as well.
Hey, Raquel, can I share my screen just real quick? Because your email came in.
Sure.
Yours came in real quick. Let me share my screen here.
And there's a question in the chat from actually Christine.
And let's see, what about the COVID lost?
Share my screen.
Yes, so the we'll see in your, as you're editing your site, you're going to have a space where it says if you can add data on like what dollars were lost because of COVID, or what volunteer hours were lost because of COVID. That's a space where you can list down like how much money from what time to what time frame was lost because of COVID, and that's just data that we're adding to the site. So, sorry.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
So this is the web email. This is what Andrew had changed. Okay. It's her email. So I would go into our database and update that email and then republish the listing, and then would be available. So anybody that would click on the I'm interested that she showed earlier, it would come to Raquel directly. Okay. That's where that email address goes. It's if I'm interested, and there's a notification. To be clear, someone asked a question a little bit about the Galaxy Digital stuff versus, or the CVille volunteer. They are doing the tracking of volunteers and volunteer hours and all that kind of neat stuff. We're just basically a search and discovery, and find a nonprofit that you can get involved with. That's really what we're about. That's what we're trying to do. So the handoff goes over to CVille Volunteer, and then that ecosystem starts on its way. Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Can you share the recording? Yes, you can. There's a question about whether you can share the recording. Yes, please share it with everyone. I'm actually going to, we have registered emails of every organization who's profiled in there. I'm going to send this recording and the user guide to all those registered emails as well. So feel free to pass it on to anyone in your organization. We want this widely used. And if there are no more questions right now, I will go ahead and pass it off to Andrew, who will give out a quick survey link, and also just kind of give an update to some other C&E programs that are coming up.
Hey, Raquel,
Yes.
before we go to Andrew, I just saw something come in.
So they came in?
The COVID loss of volunteer fund statistics. That's a part of your site. And you can, let's say, for instance, in the early days of COVID, people would put in, like they had a big gala in June of last year. That was their largest fundraiser, $70,000 loss. They would put it in. It's a real-time thing, meaning that you can come back and change it and iterate. You can put a placeholder in, whatever. And the fact is that some people use it, some people don't. And it's not really representative of the total loss of the area, unfortunately, because not every nonprofit is participating. But you can, in fact, when you're logged in, you can see add edit data. Click on add edit data right there. And there's buckets. If you click on volunteer hours lost, there's a whole bunch of buckets that you can put in, and you can do it. And when you hit submit, you can make it public, keep all info private. You can just track it yourselves and no one will see it. You can do show totals and details, or show totals, hours, and dollars. It's totally up to you. And that's at your fingertips. Okay. Sorry, Raquel. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, so I just dropped a couple links in the chat there. The first is just a quick evaluation form. We are all learning how to do this better, especially in this online space. So if you have any feedback for us, we'd be happy to hear from you on that, to figure out how we can improve. And then the thing is, I have a list here of upcoming trainings that C&E will be offering. So please take a minute to check that out and see what's coming up. If you have any questions about those, you can always reach out to me at arobinson@thecne.org.
Thank you, Andrew. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Maybe you had your lunch with us or just your break with us, and just thank you. And thank you for helping us improve this tool and finding ways to make connections with our community at large. Thank you.